Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Thunderbolts, number 2 would be Sinners, number 3 would be Clown in a Cornfield, and number 4 would be a Minecraft movie, and number 5 would be The Accountant 2. And me oh my, only got 2 of my predictions right for this weekend. If you got your predictions right, you're going to get a shout out right now. Quick reminder, like sometimes I have to do, if you edit your comment, I'm going to assume that you did that closer to when the results are coming out. I'm sorry, but if you have to make a correction, just delete the comment. You know what I mean? That's the only way I can tell. You know what I mean? Like, because I only check on the day. You know, it's what's easiest. So, you know, I avoid any edited ones in fear of cheating. So, just that quick reminder. You know, I was on a roll obviously with the first 2, and then they did some flip flopping, but at least I got all 5 movies right. That's not much of an accomplishment. Number 1 was, of course, once again, Thunderbolts. And last weekend we were kind of talking about how, you know, it's off to a solid start based off of the, you know, decent word of mouth it's been getting, the expectations of like, these are a bunch of like side characters getting to step up in like an ensemble lead role, but, you know, they're not really household names. So it really depends on, you know, how it holds over this weekend. We were talking about that a lot, especially compared to like other MCU stuff. And I will say, you know what I mean? It wasn't like the best hold ever. I wouldn't say, I don't think this is like to the likings of like what even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was doing back in 2023 as far as its, you know, second weekend hold. But it is not a drastic drop off either. This is about a bit more of like what we usually expect from like these big budget movies. It dropped about 55% around that, making 33 million for this domestic weekend. So domestically bumps the total up to 128 million. And then worldwide got a bit of a bump too. It is sitting at 272 million right now, and we've talked about how, you know, the initial production budget is listed at 180 million, but, you know, put an asterisk behind that. You might as well do that since Brave New World technically is labeled that, but, you know, the rumors about the reshoots and how not extensive they were, who knows. But, you know, we talked about how this one probably is more in line with that, but it doesn't matter. I don't need to rehash it all that much. As far as like our doubling point standard though, it, you know, still has a ways to go to get there, but, you know, this is definitely, you know, still, it really does just kind of depend. Like there was a part of me that was kind of hoping for like a bit more of like a clear, like, okay, as far as like how much it makes back while it's in theaters, like while it's running here, you know, it would be much more clear if it was one way or the other. Right now we still kind of have to wait a bit more to kind of see, you know what I mean? Like it held over like pretty like on average for like other blockbuster films, which is like, you know, totally fine, better than, you know, horrible, right? Better than like the Marvels, you know, dipping out completely, right? But it's still kind of like, okay, you know, like it has a bit more to go, and it's got a bit more competition, not just this coming weekend, you know, with 2 horror releases, especially one that's part of a big name franchise, but then the weekend after that you get, you know, your Mission Impossible, your Lilo and Stitch. So it just kind of depends at that point, you know what I mean? It's kind of more of the same, you know what I mean? We'll kind of wait and see. I'm still, you know, crossing my fingers, you know, trying to be a bit more optimistic. At the very least, I think this is still kind of meeting up to the standards of what, you know, hopefully the team over at Marvel were kind of expecting, you know what I mean? So yeah, it just really depends, you know. I'm not going to declare it one way or the other. Contrary to what like some commenter thought last week, and sorry to go on a quick tangent, contrary to what some commenter last weekend thought, where they were like, they looked at my title, Thunderbolts are doing great, ignored the asterisk that I put behind that, and they were like, no, they're not doing great actually. Stop the grift. This is all, you know what I mean? And it's like, for one thing, like obviously the asterisk placement in my video title, that means something, you know what I mean? Second, you couldn't like watch the video just to see like where my head was at. Like you couldn't wait to hear like, oh, is he actually trying to say it's great? Because I don't think I even said the words like, oh, it's doing great. Maybe I did. Maybe that was my mistake. But I feel like I was like, I remember, the only thing I remember about that video is trying to make the point of like, you know, it's off to a solid start and we'll see how it goes. You know what I mean? If I somehow snuck the word great in there sincerely, then I apologize. But it's like, man, just like, God, some fucking idiots. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gone on a tangent. Either way, it was something else to talk about. As far as the MCU goes domestically, it did outgross the Marvels by 44 million. It's sitting behind the Incredible Hulk by 6 million, and then worldwide, since it's at 272, it outgrossed the Marvels here by 73 million and the Incredible Hulk by 7 million. It needs 98 million until it gets through the first Avengers worldwide run. So, like we've been saying, it's just a bit more of a wait and see. I do wonder how it will compare with our number 2 film, Sinners, because, these films are once again kind of neck and neck. Sinners making 21 million this weekend, it had another great hold, another, weekend to weekend hold. And I think, I don't know if I'll predict it to swap, but I mean, it's definitely possible that, these films could potentially, swap places next weekend just based off of how Thunderbolts had a much more drop off compared to Sinners. Second weekend, third weekend, now fourth weekend. I think the only thing that's kind of like pulling me back a bit is that we have like 2 new horror films coming out. Like there's a part of me that's like, it might lose a bit of not like everything, but it might lose a bit of business just because it is, competing a little bit with some other stuff. Either way, irrelevant. Made 21 million, adding to a domestic total of 214 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 283 million, still doing fantastic. And then going to the domestic numbers, not only for Ryan Coogler is at 239 million away from Wakanda Forever, but I looked into like some horror movie stats because I saw some, statements being floated around, and I might need to even correct some. But it outgrossed for like a list of all horror films domestically. It outgrossed the entire domestic run of It Chapter 2 by just 3 million. It is sitting behind The Exorcist by 17 million. Right now it is in the top 5. I looked at the numbers.com and it was missing a film in the top 5 there. They were forgetting The Sixth Sense, so I kind of had to go in there and add it myself. They remember to put Jaws in there, but not The Sixth Sense. If you took The Sixth Sense out, then it's at number 4, but you kind of have to put The Sixth Sense in. And that wasn't even, like, I noticed that just seeing someone else kind of tweet, like, some other, I'm not going to remember their name, box office person or someone who reports on that. And then in their replies, somebody else had mentioned, like, I think you're forgetting The Sixth Sense or something like that. So, yeah, what's with this Sixth Sense erasure? This doesn't make any sense. But also another just kind of miscellaneous fact here, it is one of 6 horror films to hit over 200 million domestically ever. Obviously, we talked about how that includes The Sixth Sense, it includes The Exorcist, as we mentioned, and both It Chapter 2 and It Chapter 1, and Jaws. So it's amongst those as far as like domestic runs for horror films to hit 200 million plus. Obviously, the first It hit over 300 mil. Still, though, all around, continued great accomplishments, and I'm, still ever curious to see how much more it grows. Number 3 is a Minecraft movie making 7.9 million, adding to a domestic total of 408 million. So for the video game thing, it's still behind the Mario film by 166 million domestically, and then worldwide, since it's currently at 909 million. Jesus Christ, that a billion is so close in sight. It places it 450 million away from the Mario film, so still second in both places. I don't think it's going to outgross Mario at this point, but I mean, the closer it gets. Who knows how well Minecraft 2 will be, Or maybe it won't, but maybe this is the one-time fluke kind of thing. Like, everyone went the first time, but then the second time it's like, okay, it's not funny anymore, because you know for sure, whatever they cook up for, Minecraft 2, they're going to be all in on memes to the point where people are going to be like, nah, this is kind of cringe, actually. I don't like that they're trying to be in on a joke. For the domestic numbers for all time, Minecraft has outgrossed Frozen by 8 million, Revenge of the Fallen by 6 million, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle by 4 million, and the 2002 Spider-Man by 4 million as well. And it's just a couple 100,000 over the Hunger Games, Captain America Civil War, and Iron Man 3. It needs 3 million until it squeaks by Multiverse of Madness, placing it at number 45. 45th highest grossing domestic run ever. And then worldwide, for the year 2025, it is still behind Naja 2, needing 1.060 billion. But for the all-time list, it squeaked by Revenge of the Sith by 7 million. It needs 12 million until it gets to Lord of the Rings 2 Towers. Currently, it is 75 on this list of worldwide runs. So getting up there even more. So good news all around for both Warner Bros. Films in theaters right now. Sinners and a Minecraft movie. Oh, dear Lord. For just Minecraft. For Sinners, this is great. Number 4 is The Accountant 2, making $6.09 million, adding to a domestic total of $50 million. So that places it $36 million away from the original film domestically. And then worldwide, it is sitting at $76 million. Yeah, not really adding up a whole lot more. It still needs also here $76 million until it outgrosses the original film. So yeah, and it's not even really correct, the initial production budget of $80 million. It's about to get past that point, but it just kind of, feeds into my belief of like, yeah, maybe they waited too long to make a sequel, and maybe the more comedic tone that they inserted, maybe that alienated some people, or I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Either way, it's probably going to do fine after the fact once it hits streaming, because I'm pretty sure this is where it's going to be an Amazon Prime exclusive at a certain point. And they're going to promote the hell out of it, and then it's going to be like, The Accountant 2 actually broke some streaming records. People just waited for Amazon. Anyways, number 5 is Clown in a Cornfield. This one, speaking of the streaming thing, this is going to be a Shudder release, and that was fun to see the Shudder logo in front of this. It's always fun to see that logo in theaters, right? It allegedly, and I'm kind of surprised by this, it allegedly cost either $1 million or a little below that, and I just find that really fascinating how they made this movie with that, you know what I mean? And it made $3.6 million on that budget, though. A streaming title, a film that's going to be a streaming exclusive, let me rephrase. They put that in theaters, low enough budget, and it did pretty good. I think maybe it's because they're not overtly advertising that this is going to be a streaming one. Also, it is based on a book. I know it didn't make the numbers to show that it's like a really popular book, but popular enough obviously to squeak into the top 5 with what is probably like a low kind of theatrical run. You know what I mean? A limited kind of theatrical run. Not sure how long they'll keep this in theaters or how many theaters they'll keep it in, but this is pretty good. Like triple its around $1 million budget already. Like, yeah, that's pretty damn good. Bring on the sequels. I've read all 3 books, so I would like to see them attempt doing those. Anyways, number 6 is Shadow Force, making $2.01 million, and this is on a budget of $40 million. This is another one of these like action film, like mid-budget action films that just gets released and then barely anybody sees due to just like limited interest or just no marketing and not so good reviews. This is also a Joe Carnahan film, and for opening weekends it is $2 million over Narc, but it's a couple $100,000 below Cop Shop, $12 million below Smokin' Aces, $17 million below The Grey, the Liam Neeson movie, and $23 million below A-Team. It is one of his lowest openings ever. This excludes the Frank Grillo streaming Hulu video game movie. Was it a video game movie? What was that movie called? Boss Level? Excludes that, obviously. And then domestically, it needs $3 million until it outgrosses Cop Shop. Yeah, and there's no worldwide totals either to bump this up. Yeah, it's just kind of a movie that exists. An action movie that's just kind of here to fill a slot. Speaking of which, number 7 is Fight or Flight. A similar kind of situation, although I don't know what the budget of this thing is. I'm assuming it can't be that expensive. I don't think it cost $40 million like Shadow Force, but maybe it did. I don't know. Hollywood accounting, am I right? This one made $2.001 million. So these two are kind of neck and neck. So interchangeable, they almost made the same amount of money. Yeah, and yeah, both of them are bad, so... Anyways, let's move right along. Number 8 was Until Dawn, making 2.0 even. No .001 for this one, just 2.0. Adding to a domestic total of $18 million. So for F. Sandberg, $39 million away from Shazam 2. And then worldwide, it's sitting at $38 million in total. So that places it $96 million away from Shazam 2. But, it's about $7 million off from tripling its $15 million initial production budget. So, I mean, that's the real victory here. Who cares how much it makes in the grand scheme of the David F. Sandberg rankings, Just look at that budget, baby. It's probably good. Anyways, let's move on to number 9, which is The Amateur, making $1.1 million, adding to a domestic total of $38 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at $90 million. I know it's not close to doubling, but it would be cool if the worldwide numbers bumped up just enough for this one to get to $100 million. And I don't even necessarily care for this movie. I just think it would be cool to see, just a movie that you wouldn't expect to get to $100 million. It could also get pushed out next weekend, so we might not see it ever again, but that would be cool, I'll root for Rami Malek this one time. And then finally, closing out the video, number 10 is The King of Kings, making $680,000. Surprised it didn't get a bump for the fucking Mother's Day audience or whatever. I guess they didn't want to go see Jesus. That adds to a domestic I'm kidding, by the way. That adds to a domestic total of $59 million. Still don't know what the budget of this thing is, but worldwide it is bumped up to $65 million. Maybe the budget's like around 20 million, 15, 20 million, something like that. Maybe they've like tripled this budget already. I don't know, man. I was going to list the stats that I have here as far as like its difference from outgrossing Sound of Freedom for Angel Studios, but I mean, why would I at this point? You don't care. I don't care. It's done. It's finished its run. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part of the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I do think Final Destination Bloodlines has a chance just because it is a new horror film. It is part of an ongoing franchise, and I do think, it's advertising it correctly to, remind people like, yeah, this is why you like this, right? It's going to be a fun one. Number 2, I think will be Thunderbolts. Number 3, Sinners. Number 4, I think will be Hurry Up Tomorrow. I know The Weeknd, has a big fan base, and he's a very popular musician, but I don't know if the movie itself, I don't know if that's gonna. I'm not sure marketing wise or promotion wise that is necessarily connecting. I think it's kind of getting lost in the shuffle a little bit. And then number 5, I think will be a Minecraft movie. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.